education. One thing led to another. My career was in real estate, but here I am. So between Daytona Beach and Orlando, I've been here for 53 years. Thank you for the opportunity to talk about my faith, my religion. When I'm said and done, I'll have about 6 slides, so I'll give you the history of the religion, and then discuss really the biggest thing that's facing our religion. It's maybe a dwindling faith, maybe a harsh way to put it, but I'll talk about the current situation as to what's happening. So, how many of you have heard of Zoroastrianism or Zarathustra? Anyone? Wow, 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 wow. Generally, it's 1 in 100 for me, so very educated audience. Anyway, as those of you know, those of you who don't know, it's an ancient faith. The faith was founded in Persia, what is now Iran. Years ago was in Persia. Anywhere from 2 to 3,000 BC. Doesn't matter to me, but it's an ancient religion. It's the first monotheistic religion, meaning one God, one prophet concept. And the prophet's Persian name was Zarathustra. His English name is Zoroaster. And like it says, the religion was founded 3,000, some say even 3,000 BC, but even if it was founded 1500 BC, it's quite an ancient religion. Let's go here. So the basic tenets of it, actually it's a very simple religion. We have only 3 tenets: to live your life daily by 3 teachings: good thoughts, good words, and good deeds. There is no day of Sabbath for us. We pray every day, people who want to pray. No restrictions on diet. We eat everything, we drink everything. We're happy, mellow people. And the only thing we're taught of when we grow up or when we have a bat mitzvah or bar mitzvah is live your life daily by good thoughts, good words, and good deeds. That's really what Zoroastrianism is about. At least that's what I live my life with on that. So as it says here, and please, I'm a practicing Zoroastrian, but I'm not an authority. I'm not very learned. I know enough about my religion that I love it. But please feel free to ask questions during or before. I'll try and answer it. Anyway.
Yes. Can you go full screen?
Yeah, please. I'm sorry. Thank you. Thank you, David.
You might need to go 1 slide ahead. You can use the arrow key or the space bar.
Right. Okay. So there we are. So the Persian words for good thoughts, good words, and good deeds is humta, good thoughts, hukta, good words, and havashta, good deeds. And as when we have our bat mitzvah or bar mitzvah, each of us are given a chain, pretty much. That's what the symbol is about, and I'll talk about what that is about. So anyway, it's basically a guide through life. So here is the Farohar. It's basically a symbol, and all these things you've seen said here, what we believe. Keep in mind that when a faith is so old or so ancient that over the years we have been conquered, like most religions have had what conquered. So everybody in our faith questions who said this, because we do not have a pope, we do not have a higher authority in our religion. Each country has their own hierarchy, if you may, and the most people in the world, Zoroastrians, live in India, and I'll tell you how that happened. So India, Pakistan, where I come from, in the United States, we have about 6,000 of us. So there's really no higher authority. So everybody's questioning what I'm telling you who said it, because it's not in the scriptures. It just came down over the years, and as I go along, you'll understand. So anyway, this is the guardian angel that we wear as a symbol, similarly to as Christians would wear a cross, or Jews would have the star. So our place of worship is a fire temple instead of, for Christians it's a church. For Judaism, it's a temple. For Muslims, it's a mosque. Ours is a fire temple, it's a place of worship. And mainly the fire is a form of purity. Of all the things in nature, fire purifies. So we go to a fire temple, I'll show you a picture. It's like any other building. And the fire is always burning. It burns with sandalwood. I don't know, I think in thousands of years ago, maybe sandalwood was quite available in what is now Iran or Persia. But anyway, it burns with sandalwood. So when we go, or when I go to a fire temple, I would take a piece of sandalwood. I would make my offering. I would pick up a piece of sandalwood and then put it at the base of the fire. And the priest would come every few hours, pick up the sandalwood and put it in the fire. So basically, we pray facing the fire, like it says, we pray anything that has light. If it's in a dark room, it's at night, we would pray towards the light. Daytime, we would pray towards the sun. So basically, that's what it is. And it provides light and energy. This is what a fire temple looks like. Really, it's like any other building, but it has its symbols, it has its architecture. In the US, we have, I think 6 or 7 cities have fire temples. All the big cities, New York, Toronto, Chicago, LA has 2 of them between north and south. And basically, most of them look alike with all these symbols that you see here. This is when a kid, a boy or a girl, between the ages of 7 or 9 are indoctrinated to become Zoroastrians. This would be basically our bar mitzvah or our bas mitzvah, if you will. This is an undershirt, which you see here, which I'm also wearing. And then there is a string that the priests are teaching the kids to tie the string 3 times, and I'll tell you why that is. Basically for good thoughts, good words, good deeds. The prayers are, the kids have to learn the prayer by heart. So either the parents or the grandparents, or now you even have a tape recorder or something. You could go to YouTube and learn all your prayers, but by heart. It takes about, the whole ceremony, well, the prayer takes about 5 minutes, every day to pray. Basically, when you get up in the morning, you have your bath, you pray. If you're really religious, you also could pray before bed, bedtime. So that's the prayer, and the priests, similar to Judaism, we always cover our heads when we pray, remove our shoes. When you go to a fire temple, you take your shoes off, just so you don't dirty the place. It's just a form of cleanliness, if you will. So the undershirt is called the sudre, and the string is called the kashti. And when I came had a class of religions of mankind, my professor was Dean Mansfield, and he was a Baptist priest, and he had me do the whole prayer in front of my class. So and he would always start with that. Anyway, our prayer book, our Bible is called the Avesta. It's similar to the Quran, or like I said, the Bible, if you will. The language is now a dead language, unfortunately, but over the years, the Avesta language was translated into English. So we have all the explanations, the meanings, and the books are there. So you're asked to read it, say your prayers daily, and My mother and grandmother would pray for 2 hours a day. You know, I pray for a few minutes a day, and I hope my girls would pray for a few minutes a day. So, you know, it just gives us. Anyway, that's the name of our holy book. It's called the Avesta, and that's a photo of our prophet Zoroaster. Our New Year or our Christmas is the first day of spring, which would be March 20th of each year. It's a custom that even today in Iran, which is, as you know, a fully Muslim country, the custom is followed. It's a 10-day holiday. It's called Nowruz. New Year is called Nowruz, so happy and Nowruz is the new year. The first day of spring with the equinox, the ceremony, and the people put this table, if you see the table with the fruits, the candles, and all the goodies, anyway, the milk. So it's called a Hafsin table, and every Zoroastrian home would have a table set up for Nowruz. But even in Iran, the Muslims, if you really talk to an Iranian today, anyone without any reservations would say, we are really Zoroastrians. And I will tell you that Prophet Muhammad, who was born in 786 in the 8th century, so in the 8th or 9th century, the Zoroastrians were persecuted, and those who didn't convert themselves to Islam, like my forefathers, you know, we set sail, went to India, and I'll tell you that story. So anyway, my point being that even in a very Muslim country like Iran, Zoroastrianism is still revered and kind of respected because it was the original religion of the country. Again, I don't know if this is true, but it's there. You may have heard of it, you may not have heard of it, that the 3 wise men, the Magi, were Zoroastrians. I don't know. I'm just saying that I have seen that in many places in the New Testament and elsewhere. But so whatever that is, it's there anyway.
They were following the light.
Yeah, there you go. You know, there you go. So what's there? But and then that Cyrus the Great, you may have heard of him, the philosopher, the conqueror, Cyrus and Darius. That he, you know, basically when you freed the Jews and the captivity, and I don't know if anybody has seen the Cyrus cylinder when it came through the U.S. It was touring the country. I think it didn't come to Orlando. It was in Tampa, so we went to see it. But anyway, that's what it is. And Cyrus declared, you know, he banished slavery, unpaid labor, women's equality, religious freedom for all. So, you know, you will find that most Zoroastrians are pretty open-minded, quite liberal in our thinking, and that is because over the years we have been conquered by every civilization, every ruler, every king, everybody conquered us. So we kind of get along with everybody anyway. And that's the last slide. Again, the book of Ezra, and you may have, some of you may have been aware of it or not. So, you know, basically that's just a quick history of a very ancient religion, if you may. I think that's my last slide. Yeah, you know, on that. So now let me tell you what's going on in our religion, because that to me is it's a very sad aspect. So being an ancient religion, it's a very orthodox thinking, you know, the old-fashioned way of thinking. So the religion was founded BC. It flourished in Iran till 800s, and then when the Arabs came, they said, you know, either if you want to stay in Iran, but then Persia, you will convert yourself to Islam. And those who didn't set out in small boats, and the first place they could land was in India, a place called Gujarat, Parsi, you know, so it's probably a few 100-mile trip. And the Hindus were, you know, also very tolerant people, but they didn't want any foreigners, anybody coming to pollute their land. And so the story goes that when the Zoroastrians arrived on the shore of India, northwest India, north of Bombay or Mumbai, if you may, that the holy Indians, they said, how do we know that you will not come and take over our land, or you will come and persecute us? And one of the priests said, sir, if you could bring me a glass of milk and a cube of sugar. And he said, why? He said, if you don't mind doing it. And if sugar comes, the cube comes. So the priest puts the sugar in the milk, stirs it up, and he says, see, you don't see the sugar anymore. And we promise you that as long as you allow us in, we will melt or become like you, and we will not be putting our will into your nation if you welcome us. That is very much true, because even if today, if you're in India, which has now the biggest population in the world, the Zoroastrians are very prominent, still very respected. Some of them have been Tata companies. They're very few in number, but very respectful of the religion. So all I'm trying to tell you is, when you're a small faith and your numbers are so small that you're not a threat to anyone, people don't bother you. I'm always asked, were you persecuted? Were you discriminated? When you're no threat to anyone, you're allowed to go by. So basically, the controversy in our religion has been, and today, is that it's the only religion where you cannot convert to it. You have to be born in it. So that I can tell you, because that is causing the irony of my religion right now. So you have to be born. There is no conversion. Some of the priests saying, so you have to be born into it, and if you marry outside the religion, you're disowned. Very harsh. Okay. So what is happening is that, so I have two girls. They had their bas mitzvah, so they're Zoroastrians. One has married a Jew. They don't have kids yet. So according to some ancient priests in India who we've never met, or they don't know me or my daughter, would say your daughter is disowned because she didn't marry inside the religion. She's disowned. That is the biggest controversy. What has happened over the years is, but let me give you some feedback. When I left home 53 years ago, there were 7,000 Zoroastrians in Pakistan. Today, that number is 700. 7,000 has become 750 years. In India, at the height of our prosperity, which would have been 1950s, 60s, 70s, there were 1,500,000 Zoroastrians. Today, there are 60,000. Less than half. So in the whole world, where the population was around 2 million or less at its peak, today is 60, 65, 70,000 people. So you can see the decline. And the decline is caused by 5 deaths to 1 birth every year. Just people getting old and fading. Women being my daughters or anyone, a man can remain a Zoroastrian, but a woman marries outside, she's disowned. A lot of women today are questioning that and saying, "Foo-foo, you priests." Who said it? The people are questioning. You're saying it, but who told you? It's not in our scriptures. It's no one said. Somebody made it up to just say, "Oh, we are the purest of all, that no one can be converted, or if you marry outside, you no longer accept it." So that is a big controversy. Just like me, 50 years ago when I immigrated, a lot of people from India, Pakistan mainly, have immigrated to England, Australia, mostly to America, some in Canada. So our population today consists of 55 to 60,000 in India, the maximum. Canada would have the most with about 6 to 7,000, 5 to 6,000. US has about the same amount, 4 to 5,000. Couple hundred in England, couple hundred in Australia, New Zealand, somewhere, you know, you can find. So it's like 75,000 in the whole world. United Nations has a rule that any faith that is less than 100,000 in numbers is called a tribe. So it's like our religion is now by the United Nations recognized as a tribe and not a faith or a religion. You know, it doesn't matter to me. My only hope is that it's such a simple religion. It's such a you know, you live your life with good thoughts, good words, good deeds every day. That's basically it. That's Zoroastrianism. And you know, we're so adaptive and we mix in everywhere. We appreciate where we live. I came to this great country 53 years ago. I count my blessings every morning when I say my prayers. That somehow the religion survived. Now, there is some rumors that there are Zoroastrians in Iran and that part of the world, Afghanistan, in Iraq, that are underground because they don't want to come out and say we're Zoroastrians, so they're not, you know, persecuted. But I don't know how many there could be. Like they're saying that, you know, a very common name, Zoroastrian name is Cyrus, Rustam, Darius. So they're saying there are many Rustam or witches, or Cyrus or witches in different part of the world that are there. I hope so, because I sure hope that my religion doesn't go away. You know, we're very proud of what we do. We try and do good. It's a very charitable religion. After good thoughts, good words, good deeds, we're taught to donate, to be helpful, to promote humanity. You know? So basically, that's this controversy of not being converted. So there are some priests in Canada and US who have taken upon themselves to convert. And their convert meaning, if somebody goes and tells them, I want to become a Zoroastrian, nobody's going out and finding people to convert it. Nobody's time for them. But there are Muslims from Iran, Iraq, Afghanistan, that part of the world, that their forefathers were Zoroastrians, and they say, I live my life by Zoroastrian teachings. The only thing I'm not is officially welcome, so I don't have my Sadra Kasti. And so some priests, the liberal priests, are taking upon themselves to convert. And you can go to YouTube and you can see many stories stories of people that are converting and what. So that's the biggest controversy. The Orthodox priests in India, Pakistan are just besides themselves that liberal priests in other parts of the world are doing. Who's right or wrong? If somebody wants to become a Zoroastrian, I'm honored beyond belief. I'm honored beyond belief that somebody would want to become a Zoroastrian. So who am I to say, no, I'm more pure than you, and you cannot become a Zoroastrian. So anyway, so that's the biggest thing. I don't know where it ends, but I'm glad to see even if 50 people or 10 people are converted to be Zoroastrians, I'm honored and it'll help me. So with that, I'll open it up to questions. I know you've been here since noon. Again, I apologize. So please.
I have a question.
Sure.
Yeah, the priests and the Bill of Rights
Yes.
and women's equality.
Yes.
And how do the priests resolve that with the man can marry outside and the woman can't? Where do they live in that?
Yeah. They're kind of hypocrites in the sense that they don't question that. The only thing they question or challenge is conversion. Because the priest, we have women priests in Iran, of all places, you wouldn't believe, you would think India, Pakistan being a little more liberal, but in Iran, there are more women Zoroastrian priests than there are men priests, right? And no priest from anywhere in the world would question that. We try and have an annual Zoroastrian conference somewhere where people from all over the world come. And the biggest, the best attended sessions are always of women who married outside the religion, were kind of disowned by their parents tell their story of how they have, how they are raising their kids to be Zoroastrians, and many sad stories of women saying that, you know, I was disowned and I couldn't see my mother or father till they died, because it was that kind of a hurt. And so at these conferences, they're trying to let their feelings be known, and more importantly, have their kids at the conferences who, some may be Zoroastrian, some may be not. In fact, some of them, I know many, and maybe if I'm lucky enough to have a grandkid, maybe it would be a Jew and a Zoroastrian. Works for me, you know, it just depends upon the parents and the kids. So it could be, since his father is a Jew, okay, if he has his bar mitzvah, becomes a Jew, is fine. But I hope that some form of, my daughter would teach some form of Zoroastrianism to her kid. You know, so.
Do priests marry?
Yes, yes, and have kids. Yeah.
Where's the closest temple to here for you?
Houston. Oh, yeah, Houston would be it. There's not in Atlanta. And I'll tell you a story on the temple too. So Houston, New York for sure. I think in DC they've created one. So the temples are built by these Zoroastrians, mainly from Iran, who if they have any wealth have donated, they've formed trusts, and from their own money have built these temples. I can tell you in Houston, it's a very great story. Actually, a friend of mine took his family was very wealthy, and so took all their wealth and built this temple in Houston. And by the way, the temples in India, Pakistan, and the old part of the world, as a non-Zoroastrian, you cannot set foot in it. That's another problem. All the temples in the Western world are open. We took my in-laws and others. Anyone is welcome. Just 2 requests: remove your shoes, and we know you don't have a cap, so there's a cap from the chest just to wear one. So these are there, and what has happened is there are 2 temples in the U.S. One in Houston, one in New York, where some form of this fire. So the thing is, for a temple, to the high temple, when the Zoroastrians moved from Iran to India in boats, they set this fire, and the fire was never extinguished. It was kept smoldering. It was probably not flaming, but it was kept smoldering. And so these 2 temples, because these people were wealthy and had the means, and Air India, the national airline at one time, was owned by Zoroastrians, sold it to the government, now they bought it back. Anyway, in an Air India, they made room to put a smoldering fire, and flew it from Bombay to Houston, and probably just smoldering, but it wasn't extinguished. I mean, I don't know the details, but so that is, I'll come to you. Go.
I have a couple. So if I understand correctly, you don't really have anything written besides your prayer book.
Correct.
Right.
Correct.
Okay.
And the prayer book is translated in English, but the translations vary because these have happened over the centuries. The gist of it is the same. Basically, the prayer book has the meanings are very simple. You have the good and you have evil, and may good conquer evil.
Yeah. That's
basically is what's in our Bible. Is live your life and make evil be conquered.
So the I guess like news and stuff of the prophet was by word of mouth.
Yes. I mean, it could have been written, but now that the language is dead, it's so. How many times was it written? Even if Zoroaster was 1000 BC, forget 3000 BC. It just
Did I'm sorry. Did they? Speaking of like not being able to convert or marry outside,
Well, you
They
can marry
kind of
outside, you're disowned,
as a
yeah.
woman, yeah,
Yeah.
I guess. Did they, like, Jews kind of see themselves as any, chosen people? Or?
The ones, you mean the priests that are, or, I'm
Like
sorry,
the
repeat
beginning-
that
Yeah,
again?
the beginning of the, I guess the start of the religion.
Right.
The prophet, did they see themselves as like God's people or?
Yeah,
anything?
no.
So, yeah.
I don't even know if the prophet said that, or if
Yeah.
the prophet meant it. You know, I mean, nobody really
Okay.
knows where this came from.
Okay.
You know, that Zoroastrians are so pure that you will.
Yeah, that's what I was
Yeah,
wondering about, so where did the
Yeah,
purity
yeah,
come from?
I'm sorry, I don't.
Okay.
know. It's just, you know, I mean, I don't believe in it, so,
Yeah, yeah.
you know, but that's, I was raised to believe in it, but
Sounds
I
like
don't.
Jewish
you
And,
know,
yeah,
so.
yeah, you find it works in your
Tradition.
Right,
mind.
right,
Yeah.
so, but, what else? Yes?
Are there common misconceptions? Because I know it's an
Yeah,
uncommon.
yeah, well said,
Yeah.
David. Yeah, common misconception is that we're fire worshippers. We're really not.
Yeah.
We pray in front of a fire, you know, because the thing is of all the things of nature, fire purifies, but it's not really like you're a fire, not a fire worshiper. It's just a symbol. You know, it would be a symbol. That would be the biggest one, and you know, like I said, I mean, not even 1 in 100 would knows what a Zoroastrian is. You know, they've never heard of the religion. You know, so the three great people were Freddie Mercury, Queen was a Zoroastrian.
What?
Yeah, he was probably the most famous Zoroastrian. He changed his real name was Farokh Balsara. He was born in Kenya, in Zanzibar, East Africa. And his family moved from East Africa to England, and then he grew up and he changed his name to Freddie Mercury. Have anyone seen the movie Bohemian Rhapsody?
Yeah, I've seen.
The movie opens with his parents there and his dad, and he's very sad that his son is a queer and you know doesn't practice. But then the movie ends with, before he dies, he goes home and he looks his dad up and he says sorry, and he says, you know, I hope you're proud of me. You know. So, but yes, he would be the most prominent Zoroastrian. The New York Philharmonic conductor Zubin Mehta from India would be was a Zoroastrian. There are quite a few people in England in the House of Parliaments who are Zoroastrian. And then I'm forgetting someone, but yeah, in India there were quite a few. Tata. Even today in India there are 3 or 5 prominent Zoroastrian families who have been there for 2,000 years and basically did good in India. That you know, and by the way, when we came to India, we landed in a place called Pars, P-A-R-S, north in Gujarat. And so we're known as a Parsi. So a Zoroastrian in India, Pakistan, mainly in India, is also called as a Parsi. So all Parsis are Zoroastrians, but not all Zoroastrians are Parsis, because the Zoroastrians in Iran and within, you know, they don't even know what I'm talking about. But because the majority of Zoroastrians, 50,000-60,000 remaining, are from India, you say, oh, you're a Parsi. So if you hear the term Parsi, that's the Indian connotation for a Zoroastrian.
But not derogatory. But
No,
not
no.
derogatory. Okay. And another question: if we were to engage in a conversation or a meal or an event, what types of things might we do to make that more welcoming? Are there concerns about diet or tradition that we need to be thinking about?
No dietary restrictions. You know, anyway, you know, saying grace, you know, would be saying grace in English, or you know, any form of that, and so David, no, really.
Okay.
It's a very, very simple. It's a very tolerant. I think that's the right word. It's a very tolerant religion, because we've been bashed and conquered, still surviving. So, you know.
I find it interesting how religious minorities understand religious tolerance very well.
Well said, yeah.
Just in looking at the presentation, to me, Zoroastrian is such a foundational religion, and others have borrowed from it symbolism, ideas, and not acknowledged where it's come from, and sort of adapted and moved and changed things around, but the basis of
Yes,
a lot of
yes.
that is Zoroastrianism.
And you know, so true, and the reason I say that is people who have heard of Zoroastrianism or read about it say what you have said.
Yeah.
So, you know, while vast majority have not heard of it, those who have heard of it, and that is why the Muslims in Iran and elsewhere, I mean, openly, my friends openly,
Right.
one, they never converted to Islamism because they would say, yeah, I had a gun to my head to be a Muslim, but I'm a Zoroastrian. The Prophet was born there. So as tough as it and you know, even in the crazy Ayatollahs in Iran, as fanatic and crazy as they will let Zoroastrians be Zoroastrians. At least in their infinite wisdom, they have known that this was the religion of our country. And so I guess we're thankful for that, you know, that it's not been persecuted.
And it's not a threat.
No, yeah, well, David, and that goes again, when you're so few in numbers that, you know, nobody's gonna rise, when you're a few 100,000, nobody's gonna rise up and be foolish enough. But anyway.
Did they teach of an afterlife?
Yes, again, controversial.
Yeah.
Controversial. I believe in afterlife. There's some theory that if you didn't live a good life and you went to hell, well, you're going to repay for it and eventually go to heaven. But yeah, I believe in afterlife. There's nothing really, because, and one thing I may say, do you have a second?
Oh, yeah.
Before,
I just wanted to catch the questions as we ran out. but
okay,
we've
no,
still got
thank
them,
you,
that's great.
yeah. And one thing is also it's not controversial, but anyway, when someone dies and you've had your funeral, the body was placed, and I say that, it's called a tower of silence. So we say our prayers, the priests take the body in this, 10-foot circular wall. It's called a tower of silence, and then it's placed on a marble table like this. And the birds and the vultures come and devour the body.
Oh, jeez.
Right. And I'll tell you that story. And the theory is that you're not polluting the earth.
Yeah.
So the flesh is eaten up by the birds, and the bones are kept there and they disintegrate. In Pakistan, where I grew up, in Karachi, we have enough land that those towers of silences are still there, and the thing is complete. In India, because of, especially in Bombay, which is 30 million people, we say New York is a busy place with 12 million people. Bombay, 30 million people, you don't know what humanity is like, you know. Anyway, these high rises grew up around the Tower of Silence, and so from your 80th floor you could see this thing, and then the government never said anything, and also in India there are monsoons in the summer, and so the body decays and the birds are not there. Pakistan, other part. If you're in a dry climate, it's easier because. Anyway, so in India, those Tower of Silences are now covered with solar panels because there's no birds. There are no birds in the city to come. So the solar panel kind of takes care of what the birds did. But anyway, that is still going on, and again, there's only one theory for that: do not pollute the earth with the body. And so, if nature can totally take care of your body,
Yeah.
why not?
What about in the US?
Sorry?
What about a funeral, the handling of the body in the US?
No, yeah, most of us are cremated, you know, I mean, I don't even think, nobody's buried, it's just cremation would be the,
I would imagine.
there's just no, I mean, first of all, there's no municipality would allow.
Right.
Yeah.
Try going to City Hall and say, come on.
Two questions.
Yeah.
On your roof. It's all about doing good.
Right.
Do you all have thoughts on when violence, when you do have to participate in violence, or is it just absolutely no? And then the second one, what would a wedding look like?
Yeah, happy to. First answer is no, absolutely no form of, you know, Zoroastrians are probably the most meek and mild people you'll find because we've been conquered and, you know, just, you know, we're very close to Hinduism, where, you know, Hinduism is a very forgiving religion, so that would be C. The wedding, you know, it's, all the eastern part of the world have big events for a wedding. It's a big deal, you know, and especially the Hindus, because unless you give gold as a gift, you're giving nothing, you know, so. And it's only 24, 25 karat gold. In India, if you go, there's only one type of gold that doesn't exist in the US, which is 24, 25 karat. Most of our gold, I think, is 21 karat, 18 to, yeah, but yeah, it's a big hoopla, you know, if you may, depending on your means, you know, what you can do. For most people, it is also really a bar mitzvah or a wedding is really the only function where you invite a lot of people, because in your lifetime, you know, Zoroastrians grow up in a communal. You know, we are in a communal, you know, whether it's a building or it's a subdivision or it's something, it's everybody has everybody business in your life. You know, your business is somebody else's business and somebody else's business is your business. So if you get sick or you need something, you're never alone. Even if you don't like it, there'll be 5 people on your doorstep with food or drinks or something if you're sick or need help. So when you grow up in that environment, it's what you accept, you know, and that's why when my mother would visit me here, she would just be so alone. First of all, the quietness, you know, no madness, because, you know, in the morning at 5 o'clock, the milkman comes, you know, and so you leave a can out and it's all the racket, so the milkman comes, and the fish man comes, the vegetable guy comes. You know, you could go to a market, but, you know, that's the whole lifestyle. To visit, you just go unannounced. You never call anyone, or there's nobody calls you. You just show up, you know, and if you're in the middle of a dinner or lunch and if you're out of food, you make a couple of eggs. It's just done, you know, it's just like, so the doors are never locked, you know, and I mean, it's totally different. So, you know, that's why my mom had a hard time adjusting to formalities we have, and, you know, but I'm not knocking I'm not saying one culture is right or wrong, I'm just talking of the differences. So, you know, answer to your question would be, when you're when you grow up in a communal, you have 1-2 events in your life. You know, bar mitzvah, bar mitzvah, wedding, where you kind of invite everyone, and in return, the gifts are always cash, because because they know that the host doesn't have enough money to hold the event. The only way the event is held is if everyone gives a cash gift that helps offset.
Any other questions?
Anyway, it's been a pleasure. Sorry to make you wait. It was a misunderstanding. I was told 1 o'clock. Thank you for calling.
Yeah.
And I'm glad I live. I could speed through the red lights. Great talking to all of you. Thank you.
I want to mention a couple of things before we go, just because we didn't get a chance to do that before we begin. So we host this event in collaboration with the Winter Park Library. We're very grateful for Jeremy and the team here to put this on. They're recording it as well. I'm David Williamson. I'm on the board of the Interfaith Council of Central Florida. I'm joined by Christian Taylor. We had a spiel planned for before, so I'll zip through this very quickly. Our mission is to embrace irreconcilable differences and to cultivate shared values, revealing our best selves as individuals and as a community. And this type of event helps us to do that, especially when it comes to matters of interfaith, interculture, diversity among religious groups. But you can mark your calendars now for our next event, which is January 22nd. Same time, an hour earlier, same place, and that'll be on Jainism. So you'll enjoy that. And we are going through time. This is the third of 4,000 events, as I said, as we go through time through all of the religions. I'm kidding. For those of you who didn't laugh, I'm kidding. It's not that many. We're not doing everybody, just the major groups that we can. So look for more of these coming up. And if you haven't subscribed to an email from us, you can do that on the form that you have. And we'd love for you to fill that out so that we can do a better job of presenting each time. But we do know we started late. You don't have to mention that if you want to save some ink. Yes? The date is the 22nd of January, and that's at 12 p.m. Yeah, thanks everybody. Thanks for
Thank
coming.
you very much.